Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to do this beautiful watercolor illustration from the very beginning, step by step. Here I shall be using the Doms watercolor tubes, which is very budget friendly and great for beginners to start with. So do check out the description for all the links and other details. So let's first begin with the basic outline of the garment. I will start with a 10-inch long line in the center of the paper. The size of the paper is A4 and it is watercolor based paper which is hot pressed. So on the center balance line we are going to do few measurement points at 1 inch, 1.5, 3 and 3.5. So this will be your points on the vertical balance line to plot the body here. We are going to do it in a very simple manner. If you want to check the full croquis in a more detailed manner guys, you can check the description box. I will put down the links of the other tutorials there. But yes, I am writing down the approx measurements here which will help you to build the needed figure and it will make the work easier to drape the garment over it. Like you can see for the face, I've put down the measurement which can be 2 centimeter wide. Both the shoulders you can keep like 1 inch wide and waist you can keep it around 1 inch. So these measurements are very approx. You can also change it here and there guys. Our main focus would be to drape the garment and keep a good space here, make a flowy garment which we can do with the watercolor medium. So here at the bottom I'm keeping this U-shaped garment inspired from the mermaid cut and also erasing the extra lines on the center body. Next for the hands I want to keep it placed on the waist and you can go with a certain measurement which is the distance from the waist till the elbow break. Minimum I like to keep it half inch or it can go slightly more than half inch also. I will show you with the scale guys. And one hand I'm placing it on the hip, another one I'm doing it on the waist. Now here you can see I'm taking the scale to show you the exact distance. It is 2 centimeter away from the main body. Alright, once we are done with the hands, let's add the sleeves and we are going to use watercolors here guys. That's why I want to keep the fabric little more flowy and we also have enough room to fill in the colors, make it very vibrant. Lastly, we can use a scale at the end to get a nice horizontal balance between the flares. So guys, here our couture design is ready. I have tried to add a little detail around the torso of the garment, that is on the neck and around the sleeves, and finally giving some hair detail to the face. In this one we will not do the face detail, we'll keep it stylized. You can also check out the face tutorial on my channel. All the playlist and other tutorials will be there down in the description box. So our illustration is complete. Let's move to the coloring. As mentioned, I'm going to use this Doms colors which I recently purchased and it came at the cost of rupees 120 where we are getting 12 tubes plus a brush plus a mixing palette. I think it's a good deal, very budget friendly, and we can see the colors here. Everything looks fine. Let's test it out. Our main focus will be on the different use of the colors, how we can use these watercolors for layers, for giving textures and so on. To begin with the skin tone, watercolor has always been one of my favorite medium to do the base. I like to do a certain watercolor base and then do the detailing over it either with pencils or maybe the watercolor itself. Here also I'm using two color mix and water to dilute the color. It will give a nice wash effect and your color will settle in really well, where you can just layer it up if you want or simply use pencil colors to do little detailing. Always keep a tissue paper with you, napkins with you to clean your brush from time to time. And moving to the next color which is on this main garment, I'm going to use a mix of two colors here. The lemon yellow is very vibrant, very bright, so just balancing it out, I'm going to use a yellow ochre. Here you can see I'm using the yellow ochre at the bottom of the dress and using some water on my brush to just push the color upwards and giving a good blend. I'm using the same brush which I got with this set. If you want, you can use a different brush also. I think this brush is fine till if you are doing on the bigger areas, but you can invest in some other brushes also where you would be needing further in your journey. So I think for your watercolor work, the papers and the brushes also play very important role throughout. If your paper is not of the right type, it will not make your watercolor stand out. So I will recommend that as you move ahead with your watercolor works, you do invest in some good quality art papers like hot pressed papers or cold pressed papers or mixed media papers. Those papers will really make your work stand out. So at the beginning of your journey, remember to practice a lot to get your hands clear with this watercolor medium and to enhance your skills, as practice is the greatest tool for you. So guys, here you can see I've started the darker shade from the corner of the garment, that is the outline of the garment, and slowly blending it towards the inside. This way your garment will look more sculpted because of our body shape, which has a cylindrical shape to it, so nothing should look flat. When we work on the highlights and the shadows of the garment, it is definitely going to stand out more. Next, for the cape sleeves, I'm using this cobalt blue color, and firstly we are going to start with a wash of the color. So wash of the color is when you dilute the color and do its very light shade on the garment. We can always build up the intensity of the color, guys. This is how watercolor works. You can level it up and make the saturation stronger. You can do the color in multiple layers. So here you can see once my first layer is done and dry, because it's very important that your layers are dry in between. Next I'm going to do with the second layer. I've started from the corner of the garment to sculpt it out very slowly, and then I'm going to clean my brush on this tissue paper to remove the extra colors, and after that I'm going to use the same brush to blend around the corners so that the lines doesn't look very strong. So here pay attention guys how I'm blending the color. It's very simple. Put the color, clean your brush and use little bit water to just blend the color and soften the edges. Here you can use a different brush also for the blending thing. If you don't want to clean this brush, you can work with two brush together, one for putting the color, another one just to blend it. Second important thing to pay attention is to the edges of the four lines. Make sure that it blends really well with the surface. Don't keep the edges too strong or too blunt. Notice the bottom of the garment and notice how it is going and mixing with the top portion of the garment. Everything should be seamless and no fold line should look too strong or too much like a rigid line. Alright, so how else we can use the watercolors? We can use the watercolors definitely as a medium for adding details. Notice here guys how I'm holding the brush. I'm trying to hold it very straight, at least at an angle of 90 degree to 80 degrees, so that the dots which I'm placing looks more circular. And secondly, the color. Here I have not mixed any water to the color so that it looks more strong and opaque. So this way guys, you can use the thick watercolor paint to add the details, just like how you can add with a gel pen, detailing pen or any type of markers and so on. So guys, very interesting thing about the watercolor is that we can control the opacity here and create different levels of the saturation of the color by mixing in water. So suppose if the embroidery color is very similar to your base fabric color, that time you can dilute the watercolor and use that diluted color to create embroidery effect. You are going to get a very beautiful embroidery effect. I do this whenever I create very faded kind of embroidery look, like silk based embroidery look or chicken curry embroidery effects. So yes, you can control the saturation. If certain time the gel pen is too strong to create the embroidery effect, that time you can dilute your watercolor and do the embroidery look. So yes, experimentation with your colors is the best way to understand which effect is working out for you. Here again you can see I'm trying to create more of the brownish color around the corner so that the center looks highlighted, and the embroidery also doesn't look too strong. I'm creating a little blended effect between the embroidery so that it looks like it's nicely embellished over the surface. Along with this, we can also increase the shade on the embroidery effect. I have mixed little amount of black to the main color which we were doing. Remember guys, the black is very intense, so you don't need too much of the pigment, just little will be enough. And use that shade color more around the corner to sculpt it out and apply the shadow and bring the highlights more towards the center of the garment. So here you can see we are going very carefully over the pattern here and adding the blackish dots here and there to make the shadow more effective, and automatically the center looks more highlighted. So guys, you can keep on applying the shadow as much as you want in form of layers. We started with a very diluted color and slowly we build up the intensity layer by layer. So guys, here you can control the amount of saturation, the amount of shadow you are putting. We started building up our layers very slowly, starting from the single wash of the color to this point where we are adding the shadow. I am also going to add little black mixed with this blue on this cape so that everything looks balanced. The right amount of highlights and the shadows are there on this garment, and finally some little more details on the skin here and the hair. This one we are going to keep it stylized, but that doesn't mean that we are not going to add some detailing. The watercolor itself can be used as a medium for details. Like here you can see guys, I'm adding the brown on the hair. I have not diluted the color. I want the paint to look thick and create a nice volume for the hair. After the layer is dry, I'm adding some more black color to make the hair more intense. So yes, watercolor can be controlled by the amount of water you are adding. So you can keep it very diluted or you can keep it very thick as well. Lastly, for the final highlights, I am using this white paint directly from the tube. I'm not mixing any water to it, and using a thinner brush this time, I'm going to put this little dots right on this embellishments and the embroidery portion here to create little glittery effect, which will enhance our embroidery and make it look more shiny. You can also use the paint little on the center of the garment to make it look very shiny, and do the same technique for fabrics like silk, satin or metallic based surface. So yes guys, this is our final result which we have done entirely with one watercolor set. Do try this out, and you can upload it on the Instagram using the hashtag ArtStudio by Shrabani for me to see under the hashtag. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I shall see you all very soon. Till then, take care, keep illustrating. Bye bye.